And here we go, my friends. So the question is, how do we approach shippers in the right way? And how do we truly develop a solid relationship with drivers? How do we look out for the ones that are on the front lines for everything we do in a day? Today on The Logistics Life. Welcome back, my friends. And today I've got a good friend with me, y'all. We got Nurf here. Nurf, thanks so much for being here, brother. I was just reflecting on how far back we go. And, it brings a smile to my face because when you talk about dedication, I know I met you on when Nick and I were doing the NRDD show, and we had you scheduled to come on, and I want you to share with the audience how dedicated you were to come on, because I think this is one of the best stories on the planet. So I'll let you take it away as to how we met, and then we'll dive into kind of how we approach shippers in the right way. And I know you got a very specific philosophy on a caring dispatch as opposed to anything else. So I'll let you take it away, brother. I'm so happy you're here.
Yes, it's very nice to see you again, and it was a pleasure meeting you in person as well a few months back as well.
Yeah, Truck World.
Yes, Truck World, yeah. So up in Mississauga, so that was great. But yeah, you and I had our, we had our first kind of video podcast together where I was expecting the birth of our second boy, and as soon as he was delivered, we kind of did some logistics around in the hospital room where I was in the corner with a little setup with a laptop and a little earpiece too. I didn't even have a full headset or anything back then. And just we kind of try to just do some noise cancellation for the new baby, so that way if the baby's crying or something that you guys couldn't hear it in your end. So yeah, it was at the hospital during or just after the delivery of my second baby boy.
Like, so y'all want to talk about dedication and wanting to share a message. Like, that probably to me is the highest dedication on the planet there, brother. I mean, I don't know if it went over well with your wife, but very high on my.
Oh, it was good. Yeah, she was very supportive. Oh, she's a happy-go-lucky type of person, so it's very difficult to upset her in those manners. Like, if I gotta go do something, she's not gonna be like, like none of that. It's pretty. I'm pretty blessed that way.
Good for you. Good for you. That's, well, you know what? Behind every great man is a great woman.
Respect,
right?
Respect.
That's what was said about good old Henry Ford with his wife. You know, and if you look at a lot of the creators of massive movements, there was always somebody strong standing beside them, man or woman, 100%. Doesn't matter. So let's get into it.
Hard to do anything alone.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's the whole thing, and you know, I know you're a business owner, and I know you're into corporate sales training now, but I mean, I remember when you had a couple of trucks. And it's an interesting story because I remember you and I talking about it. I'd love to get into it when we get into the second part, because I know you just what you did for your team and for your drivers and for everything speaks volumes about who you are as an individual. And we'll get into that. But I wanted to talk to you about, you know, approaching shippers in the right way, you know, shifting the mindset from what was to what is. And I also want to pick your brain about what you feel is coming down the pipe. And obviously, you know, none of us have a crystal ball, but I want to just get your sense of the industry, your sense of some of the challenges, some of the opportunities you see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first of all, yeah, you know, 2024, 2023 also has been really rough in a lot of trucking companies, brokerages, people firing drivers, laying off staff, whether it's brokerages as big as, put a name there, the 3-letter brokerages out there, whoever it is, people are laying people off. The business is cutthroat. That I get that. I understand that, but it doesn't have to be that way, especially on a more micro level where we're dealing with local shippers, our local drivers, our local companies. So for me personally, how I like to approach it is, we don't got to take the route of the traditional salesperson where it's just hurry up, buy. I'm the best. Nobody's better. Buy once. If you don't buy again, I don't care about you. We don't have to take that approach. We don't have to take that approach with our drivers too, where we're just hiring and firing and the turnover is like 98%. We don't have to do that. the approach we should be considering, at least, or applying, if not the whole psychology behind it, but at least parts of it, would be the consultative selling approach, the consultative business owner approach. This is an approach that I like to take, and it's essentially where you're in a trusted advisor, you're a trusted partner trying to find a solution to a problem, rather than just being the traditional, for lack of a better term, annoying salesperson where you're just pitch slapping, throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks, and you don't really care who you hurt along the process or what kind of damage you caused, because your customer service wasn't at its highest level. Your quality of customer service wasn't at its highest level. And that's a problem we're seeing in this industry today, where people are just very cutthroat. There's a lot of, I don't care who I hurt along the process, rather than hitting the brakes. They're there for a reason and saying, you know what? Let me just lean forward and say, hey, Mr. Dan Deigan shipper, can you please explain to me, what are your pain points? I'm genuinely curious. I want to see if there is a fit. Okay, maybe what your thing that you need is, I don't have, but I will direct you in the right way. In the process, I have gained credibility. I have gained the trust. I've kept that door open. And now in the process, if you didn't choose my solution the first time, that follow-up I do is going to be a lot easier for me. Okay. I'm not going to just tell you once and leave you alone and never talk to you again. No, I will come back. Follow-up is one of the keys to success in this industry. Sometimes it takes 8 times to talk to a shipper before they give you a yes, or more, even more for some old school shippers, so to speak. So yeah, that would be my take on that.
You know, it's interesting you brought up the communication points and the touch points, if you will. One thing I started adopting probably 8-9 months ago was, I do not reply to somebody until they've connected with me 5 times. And I know some people are like, come on, Dan, you're in sales. You know, how does that feel? And here's the way I look at it, and I'd love your opinion on this. So they say statistically, 80% of salespeople don't follow up more than 3 times. 98% don't follow up more than 4. When you hit 5 to 7 times, that's like 2% of the sales force follows up more than 8 times. And to me, I started looking at things, Nurf, and saying, if I'm going to deal with somebody, I want to deal with the best. And what do the best do? Like, you look at, like, perfect example is Ryan Serhant, right? I don't know if you know of Ryan Serhant, you know, New York, $1 million New York listings, and now new Netflix series called Owning Manhattan, right? Well, I watched Owning Manhattan. I really liked his style. So I started watching some of his YouTube videos, and he is like the follow-up king, because he said, like, the thing is, it's never no. It's just not now. And especially in real estate, right? He goes, so I'll follow up. He goes, but the one thing is, I don't just follow up saying, hey, I'm circling back. He goes, I try and add value to every follow-up. But he's been coined as like he's went through his follow-up process, and I was blown away at how much this man follows up. And then you start looking at it. I mean, how many times have you experienced or heard somebody say, well, you know, I chased this prospect for a year and they became one of my best clients. So you think about it. If you follow up with somebody once a week for a year, that's 52 times that you're connecting with that person, thinking of how can I add value to their day? I mean, and I'm talking something as simple as, you know, you talked about a lane from here to here. Hey, FYI, I know you said you weren't ready, but we noticed some freight shifts. Here's some market analysis for you to read quickly, like something where it's value as opposed to just, hey, I'm circling back. Hey, I'm circling back. And I can tell you, and I know this is a long question, probably going to have a couple of answers for it, brother, but I can tell you that's probably one of the hardest pieces of my day, is thinking of value to follow up with. What are your thoughts on that? And maybe how can you share with the audience, if you do that, how do you start thinking through how to add value on a follow-up?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So you're right. You have to look to add value. If you're just reaching out and following up with somebody 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, and it's just for the sake of checking in, you're not adding that value. That's going to go by the wayside. It's kind of like in one ear and out the other. There's nothing there. You're not planting a seed. Always look to plant a seed. The whole thing that you talked about when it comes to bamboos, right? For the first so long, nothing happens, but then all of a sudden you get just a plethora of things happening in a short moment of time. And it's the same thing when it comes to shippers. Maybe for the first 5, 6, 16 times you follow up, there may not be much back from them. But if every time you reach out to them, you allow that thing that you provided with them, whether it is a link to an article, whether it's your take on something they're talking about, whether it's a picture of something, whether it's whatever, it could be a pain point that you've picked up on. And now, like, for example, let's say a shipper talks about on-time performance on LinkedIn and you see it. That's your golden nugget. There you have it. They're telling you what one of their biggest pet peeves are: a no-show of a carrier, a broker that's not communicating, whatever it may be, whatever that pain point may be. And now you can hit on that point genuinely, because it's like having a conversation, albeit technologically it's delayed conversations because you're seeing the post and now you got to go and hit the reply button and come up with something that's actually genuinely inciting curiosity in the shipper as well, right? So leaving something for somebody to ponder on will give you better results back in the long run. This is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It is not a sprint. You have to play the long game here. That's just how it is. So I like your approach also when it comes to the follow-up stuff, where you kind of hit the brakes and say, you know what, I'm going to wait for those 5, 6 times before I engage with this individual. A lot of shippers will do this too, where they kind of hold off. So you don't know where that line is. Maybe it's on the 16th attempt, or the attempt where they give you the, flip you a bird, right? Which we know, technologically speaking, from that perspective. So I like your approach. I think it is the right way to go. And I do think that adding value and so it's about the simmer, it's about the ponder, it's about planting a seed. So try to approach it that way. If you're just saying, hey, I'm checking in, what's up? That's not going to go anywhere. That's almost like when a carrier reaches out to me and the only thing in the email is, you have load, with no question mark, by the way, no signature, just at gmail.com. That's not adding any value to me. Instead of saying, hey, we have trucks daily in Montreal. We currently have 3 trucks available. They're empty in Montreal. They're ready to go. If you do have anything going towards Toronto, we'd love to help you. If not, keep us in mind for the future. That's different than just saying, you have load? Well, load where? Where's your truck? What's going on? Like, I think about that too when I get that list of available trucks or whatever, right? But if you don't give me some context or something to ponder on, probably just in one out ear and out the other.
Yeah, and then there's also, I'm a big I don't know. I don't even know what it would be. I scream from the rooftops all the time about, reverse engineered logistics. And part of that is, I truly believe the most successful logistics brokers, freight brokers, whatever you want to call us, salespeople, if we just work with 5 to 10 of our best carriers, and in essence become the sales force for those carriers, I truly believe it's next level productivity. And what I mean by that, Nurf, is it goes directly back to what you were just saying. You get an email like that and says, hey, listen, I'm in Montreal Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I typically have 3 trucks there. I've been delivering to this location for 9 years. My average unload time is 45 minutes. I have standing 9 a.m. appointments. I noticed you're 23 miles from this facility. I could get there undone by 9:30, do my post-check inspection, 15 minutes, 10 o'clock, I hit the road latest. I could be there by 11:15. Not only could I be there by 11:15, I service Montreal, Toronto, or I service Toronto, New York, Iowa. Here's my line haul rates for each. And I truly believe you are now cutting through all of the noise. You are being very specific. And if that prospect has freight going to those areas, I'm not saying you're going to instantly get business, because I don't believe that happens anymore unless you are like hundreds of dollars cheaper than anyone else. And that's just a race to the bottom. But I do believe you look at the 2 emails, even the 3. So the one that you said where it said, hey, good morning, I have these 3 trucks. And you look at that other email where, hey, you have load. And then you look at the 3rd email that says, hey, this is everything. Like, lay it out. And obviously be as to the point as you can, because you don't want to send somebody a book. But to me, I look at it and I'm like, the 3rd one all day long are the people I'm going to probably communicate with or remember, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like I often say, if you're looking to sell your home, right? And somebody comes to you and says, sure, I'll sell your home. And, no problem, tell me what you're looking for. Well, I'm looking for a colonial, 3-story home. Okay. And then there's another person that says, okay, well, I've got like 20 questions to ask you. And the reason I want to ask you is because I have no desire to waste any of your time going to visit a house that you have no desire to see. And, here's a book I wrote all about why these questions are important. Now, which real estate agent would you go with? You'd go with number 2,
Well,
because you're thinking,
yeah.
okay, if I use 10 minutes of my time to fill this report out, and I use maybe 2 hours of my time to read their book, how many people have wasted days looking at homes where in the pictures you're like, man, these are awesome. And you get there and it's like, this is crap, right? Like, and so that to me, I think is the next level. And I think it's next level. And I think this dives directly into your second philosophy, which is like, you got to honor our drivers. So it's understanding from prospects, what facilities do you have? How are you going to take care of my driver? And I'd be interested to hear from people out there that are watching and listening. Are you a logistics sales professional that even cares about that? And I mean, obviously I don't think we're going to get a single post that says, no, I don't care about that, because they'll get trashed online. But think about it for yourself. Like, how many of your prospects right now have you asked about driver services, facilities, like waiting time, like all of these questions that I truly believe are a key part of what we do. Like, I could tell you, Nurf, probably up until 20 years of my career, I never asked how long it took to load trucks, because I'm like, well, my conditions on my rate sheet say 2 hours free. Yes. And yes, will drivers get paid after 2 hours? Sometimes. But who wants to sit there for 9 hours? Nobody. And as much as it's, the mentality I had was always, well, but I'm paying them. But because you've ran a trucking company, $65-$70 an hour does not pay driver. It lost time at the end of the week.
The value of time that goes past the dollar. It's not, it's you got to value the human being too at some point in time, right? I mean, $60, sure, that's great. But what if I just missed out on my reload that's going to pay me my $4,000 to get me back home?
Exactly.
And now I'm waiting because you're paying me 60, and I should be thankful that I'm just going to sit here and make $60. Whereas now, after I'm offloaded, I got to send that truck to a truck stop and not back home, because there's nothing left for them to pick up for the day from that specific relatively local area. Let's say radius of 200 miles as an example. You have to consider so many moving pieces, right? Hours of service and everything else, right? Where's the driver's duty time? Where's his work cycle clock? Where his driving time is? Like, I can't just drive the guy 48 hours straight. I have to follow rules. There's actually rules in place.
Well,
right?
and also, when's his reset? Is he, one of the biggest ones is your reset going to get you home? Or now are you going to be, because of this one delay at a shipper, are you going to be stuck at the end of the week in Timbuktu, not able to see your family, and legally have to shut down, right? Like,
and you're 3 hours away. You're 3 hours away because that's where your clock gets you. You can't just put yourself on personal conveyance and drive 3 hours. I mean, sure you can, but if you get stopped by Ministry of Transportation or DOT, that's more money out of your pocket. That's a guaranteed some sort of fine or warning. Even if it's a warning suck too, because that's going to end up on your record too. And then that it's just a snowball effect then,
Mm-hmm.
because it affects everything else. Insurance rates and everything, right, gets affected by these small decisions. That it's a chain reaction that happens just because the shipper that you're picking up from or delivering to is not a shipper of choice, because they don't value whatever broker's time,
Yeah.
carrier's time,
Yeah.
whatever that may be.
Absolutely. I
And
mean, I saw that ad,
everybody,
that picture going around LinkedIn lately where it's like, sorry for the inconvenience, but we're at a 16-hour wait to get unloaded. Like,
yeah, have you ever delivered to southern Detroit there? There's a one warehouse facility, the Meyer Distribution Center, for example. Like that place,
no,
you go deliver a load of chicken there, it's a 14-hour wait to get offloaded.
that's crazy.
And there's people literally sitting, like throwing gum out of their mouth, like on the sidewalk, like playing games, forklift drivers, instead of just going at it, getting these guys in and out, just getting that, then you have more time to throw more gum out if you get these guys but there's that mentality doesn't exist, right? If a driver comes to me, he's like, please, man, please get me offloaded. I have 15 minutes or I have an hour to get to my next pickup. I'm going to do everything. If I'm that forklift guy, I'm going to do everything in my power to get this guy out of here. And that's it. Then if I want to, walk around the warehouse for the rest of the day, that's up to me.
Mm-hmm.
But this mentality, like even if we just get a percentage of this type of, veracity, this type of like, let's go into people, we're going to have a better supply chain.
I believe that wholeheartedly. I mean, I remember when, during the pandemic, Dean and I were talking, and we were actually looking at dwell times at shippers, because everybody was like, oh, there's a huge, there's so many fewer carriers, and it's a, major capacity crunch. And we actually identified, and I forget which, it was a large carrier in the US, where Dean got the information. I totally forget the name now, but it came to be that dwell times had almost tripled. And so it wasn't necessarily capacity, it was dwell times at shippers and waiting times, which hurt capacity in the overall market. Because,
Yeah.
I remember talking to FedEx one day during the pandemic, and this woman explained it in a way where I was like, wow, that actually makes a ton of sense. She said, because I was looking for a package, and I had ordered something, and you get guaranteed delivery on blah, blah, blah. And I remember calling her saying, okay, well, I'm seeing this package for 4 days has been in Kitchener. And she said, yeah. She said, the problem is this, you have people 4, 5, 10, 500, 300, 1,000 times the amount of online sales because nobody can go to stores. She goes, then you mix that with the ability that we're half staffed because we all have to be 6 feet apart. And she went into all of these, and she goes, and what does that add up to? Trailers never getting unloaded for days, and we can't keep up to the volume. And I was like,
Huge
wow,
backlogs,
that makes sense. But now we're back to full capacity. We're back to life as quote unquote normal. I mean, call a spade, right? You talk to somebody, you're like, I have COVID. You're like, all right, well, this is just a common cold now. It's like everything else, right?
Yeah.
And like, so to me, I look at it and I say, okay, during the pandemic, it was all about, oh, we honor you, frontline workers and truck drivers and all this. And it's how quick we forget that these individuals in the vehicle, let's take the dispatchers out of the equation. Let's take the salespeople out of the equation. Let's take operations people at brokerages out of the equation. The drivers are the ones that keep food on our table, keep our lights on, keep everything. Because if we didn't have trucking, in 2 weeks, we would have no fresh water. In literally 3 weeks, most of our infrastructure would break down because we can't repair it, right? Like, these are all pieces of the puzzle that not very many people think of, because they're thinking of, how am I going to make commission on this load? When the driver delivers, it's not my problem anymore. And it's a pandemic inside our industry. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there's some of you out there that are saying right now, I don't work like that. I believe that because you don't, I don't. Most of the people I associate with and talk to don't work like that, but there still is a ton of people that do. Right?
Yeah.
Call a spade a spade.
Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was actually reading something on LinkedIn. There was one of the drivers. He said he called a broker, and the broker says, yeah, what do you want? And the guy says, well, like I'm interested in this load you have posted from so and so going to where it was going to Texas, I think. And the guy says to him, well, and so yeah, let me just see what's going on here, and then hangs up on the guy.
Really?
Like that's not just doesn't there's no and the guy calls back and the guy says load is covered and just hangs back up on him. Right? There's these little small things is what's going to set the mentality of how brokers or how carriers feel towards brokers or how shippers feel towards brokers or vice versa, whatever that dynamic is.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean there's a lot to we're a long ways from perfection.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's almost like a pandemic within the actual industry
Mhm.
itself, right?
Mhm.
Of whatever those pain points are. So
Absolutely. And I think now is the best time ever to build relationships with your suppliers. Um,
yeah.
like think about it, right? And it's the typical paradigm that we face over and over. And I'm sure there's a similar paradigm on a different level in other industries. I mean, I've since I've been 17, I've been in logistics, so I'm kind of biased to the industry, brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I look at it and I say, during the pandemic, anybody that was trying to build a relationship, you're going to have the immediate reply from carriers saying, "Oh, now you want a relationship." But
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and again, even if you were authentic, there's been so many tarnishings of brokers doing this. Some people just are negatively impacted by it, right? If that makes sense. So it's, now I think there's a great opportunity because now I believe wholeheartedly. I mean, we're seeing imports come in, 16, 17% higher than they were year over year last year. Things are
Yep.
starting to move. If you speak to people, I mean, I'm speaking to a lot of people daily and they're like, I'm feeling like things are getting busier now. Like things are starting to pick up. I mean, it wasn't just a switch like it was with the pandemic, but things are starting to pick up. And so now is, I believe, when people should be adopting a cost plus, a full visibility, a reverse engineered logistics, a hey guys, we're going to take 5 of our salespeople in this brokerage and we're going to be your sales force to help you grow. What are
Yeah.
your goals? What are your KPIs? What are your mandates? Where do you, Mr. Supplier, Mrs. Supplier, want to be in 5 years? Why don't we
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
together? You don't want to hire a sales team because most salespeople are really a pain in the ass to deal with. I know you don't want to do that. We have the sales force. We could use a great carrier like you because you're a direct representation of the image, credibility, and brand we want to deliver to the market and deliver to our customers. It makes a great team. But
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh my God, how am I going to make an extra $50 or $100 on this load? And sorry, I apologize. Not everyone. It's generalizing, and I know there's not. What are your thoughts on that, and where do you see this going in the next little bit?
So first off, I do think that there will be. I do believe there is already a better outlook moving forward in terms of we're going to get out of this. Yeah, you know what? We in the last few months, I think we did bounce off of rock bottom,
Yeah.
and slowly but surely we'll get back to where it is. Just you and I, at least this is how I feel. We're not economists. We're not the ones pulling the strings for the entire economy.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not sure exactly when that quote unquote back to normal will be for at least the rates and the volumes. But we're slowly but surely getting there. But I do truly think that, to your point of relationships, these rock bottom times and these low volume, low rate times is where you need to sit at that table with your customers and whether it's a virtual table or a real table, sit and talk and say, hey, you know what? How can we help?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you seeing your shortfalls, your shortcomings, where we can come in and actually the services we provide can actually be of benefit to you? It's no use for you as the shipper or me as a broker or as a carrier to sit here and sell fog in a jar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like blur your vision and think that we can provide something for you that we actually can't. And in doing so are going to actually hurt your business further. We're not interested in that. How can we actually help? What are the issues you're having? Maybe it is just a lane. Maybe it's a more wider thing. Maybe it's just the port pickups, the drayage stuff you're having problems with. What is it? but we have to sit down and find out what these issues are together, because I'm wasting your time if I'm coming in there and guessing what your problems are. I have to hear it from you, and we have to establish some sort of, camaraderie, some sort of respect, some sort of back and forth where we're actually working together to resolve your problems, rather than me just going in there and saying, well, I know you have problems with full truckload and less than truckload and drayage, and we're the best at everything and nobody's better than us, and please buy from us. Even if it's just one time, it'll help us out, and we don't really know where it's going to go, but let's just try one load and that's it, and nobody's better than us, though. We're the best. No, don't go with Dan. I'm better than Dan. No, I'm just the best. Everybody else sucks. I don't like that approach. I don't like that traditional, old school, annoying salesperson approach to logistics in 2024.
And I think most logistics companies, like most shippers at this point in time in the world, in our market, I think they see right through that. I really do.
I hope so.
They know one carrier is not the best at everything. And I think actually, by using that approach, I think it actually tarnishes their belief in what you're actually able to do. I really do. I believe that wholeheartedly. I know we got to get moving, but before we do, Nurf, I want to make sure, because I know you're doing a lot of corporate training now. You're doing a lot of dispatch training, and I want to make sure we get a chance to share with the audience what you do and how they can get a hold of you, brother.
Yeah, so you can get a hold of me through LinkedIn. Just search for Nurf Nadarevic. Nadarevic is the last name. So Nurf, Nurf. I'm the bald guy in the picture wearing a suit, so that's me. Although I feel more comfortable this way in a shirt.
Yes, me too.
And in addition to that, what we do at Truckadium, which is the training company and the consulting company, what we do is on the dispatch side, that those courses that we have for dispatch, those are people that are looking to get in the industry to open up a trucking company. So it's good for owner operators, for job seekers, for students, for people that are looking to get into logistics, but also for us to set a solid foundation for them for a very comprehensive course. We pour our heart and soul into making sure that this course is exactly what you're bargaining for. It's exactly what you're looking for. And it is very, very detailed. And Kamal is my business partner. We have really put a lot of time and effort into making sure it is legitimate and the go-to place for dispatch training. When it comes to our freight brokerage course, we call it the advanced freight broker course because it is for people that have an understanding of logistics. So, for example, a trucking company that's looking to open up a brokerage arm, or just to give you a different perspective on logistics sales. So if you're an already existing freight broker agent looking for a different perspective, seeing how you can approach shippers in a different way, we would be a course for you. So we talk about how to find shippers, qualifying prospects, rate quotes, understanding spot rate versus contractual rates, shipper broker agreements, shipper broker contracts, carrier contracts, cold calling, cold emailing techniques, logistics sales, including how to add and digitize to your freight brokerage a digital approach, right? Rather than, so not to replace you as a broker, but to actually use digital technology available today, whether it's through AI, machine learning, blockchain technologies that are currently out there. We show you places you can go to help elevate your business to the next level. So, and the best part above all that is the fact that we're in your corner after the course too. So you actually connect with us even after the course. You talk to us. You connect through us on LinkedIn, emails, phone calls, private meetings on Google Meet or whatever, Zoom or whatever you want to use, where we actually help you resolve things that are happening in your business. And that's what we differentiate ourselves with. And it is a course I actually designed in full in terms of the actual content itself. Kamal and the Truckadium team did the editing stuff in terms of the visuals. But I put a lot of effort into making sure that it is something that I want to put my name on. It is something that I'd actually want to sell to the world, and they can actually use it for their benefit. So and like I said, reach out on LinkedIn. You can also find me on YouTube. My channel is Logistics Worlds with a Z at the end, or a Z for an American friends. So Logistics Worlds would be where you'd find me on YouTube, and it's a YouTube channel that has over 600 videos about logistics, sales, dispatching, owning a trucking company, owning a brokerage, the things I know how to do, things that I did a calculation the other day with my friend Alex Bates, who I was on his podcast, and I did shout you out, by the way. So
Oh,
just
thank you,
as a
brother.
side note, and we were just talking about you as a
He's
human
a good
being, but
man. I like Alex.
essentially, yeah, I like that he's very, very honest,
Yeah.
and that's what I like. He tells you exactly what it's like. So I was just telling him the other day, based off of my 14-year career and based off the amount of hours on average that I've been working throughout my entire career, I have over 60,000 hours of experience in this industry. That's from literally sleeping on this office floor with a blanket, doing updates at 3 a.m. for my customers on loads that have to be in their systems updated, or else you get dinged for KPIs, to going out to shippers and figuring all that out. So they say you need 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. Well, whatever that's worth at 60,000 hours, I know that I've done it with my heart on my sleeves, and I've put everything I can into the industry, and I'm not stopping. I'm 35 and I want to be going until I'm about 63 and a half, hopefully, God willingly. We'll see how it all works out. But and last message before I let you just finish it off. My mom always used to say, have a house in every village. And that literally means not to go buy a house in every village. It means that put your best foot forward. Make sure that you are honest with people, integral, ethical in your approach, and keep doors open. And don't close doors with your behind, because you will regret it in the long run, right? We're a close-knit community, logistics, word travels fast, so make sure you're doing things the right way. And for you brokers out there that have an established business, one of the biggest things that I want you guys to consider is treat your carriers with respect, and please, please, for the love of all things good, and please, please, please pay your carriers on time. Please do that, because cash flow is king in this industry, and people can't wait 90, 120 days to run a trucking operation. It's expensive to run trucks. And with that, thank you very much. And off to you here. Thank you.